All right, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
So we have a host, I guess. I am the host, it says. Well, that's news to me. I think we have people still in the chat room. Does anyone know how to bring people in from the bullpen? I don't, I'm not a,
Yeah, they should have gotten a prompt and they just needed to enter the passcode.
okay. So we got, I know Mary Ann's out there.
I know Marissa was waiting, and I think Adam's there actually. Hey, Adam.
There's Adam. Marissa, Sarah, okay. So we've got 5. It looks like we lost Mary Ann. She was in the waiting room as well. I have to talk to town hall. I don't know why. You know, if they want to pass this off to me as to be the host, that's fine. But somebody's got to tell me I'm supposed to be the host and give me a little training on how to use this. Attendee view. Okay, well,
Oh no.
yeah, I don't see how to let anybody else in. I don't, like I said, I don't host these things. No, nothing else. Okay, I don't see how to bring anybody else in. So I'll assume the other folks left in disgust, which I feel pretty much the same. We don't have Chris McIntyre. Oh, we do have Chris. Hello, Chris. Chris, let's see, first of all, let's call the meeting to order. We don't have Marissa.
There's a few folks in the attendees column. I think you just need to promote them to panelists on
I don't see it. I got participants, but it's only the people who are visible. Attendees, oh, I see. Oh, okay, allow to talk. Eric Potter, allow. Promote the panelist.
There you go.
Okay,
It worked.
Great, thank you.
did I get everybody? Mary Ann, Marissa? Eric?
I'm here.
Well, I learned something new. See that?
I'm here. My screen might not be on, but I'm here.
Okay. All right. So after a rocky start, we seem to have, we definitely have a quorum. Why don't we just do a roll call so Marissa can get everybody who is here for the attendee list. Present, Peter Pescatori. Deidre,
Deirdre Riley.
Chris,
Chris McIntyre present.
Marissa,
Marissa Manley present.
Mary Ann,
Mary Ann present. Oh,
Eric.
you can see my video.
Eric Potter present.
Okay. So I think we accomplished that. All right. First off is the minutes, which were sent around by Marissa late this afternoon. Did anyone have a chance to take a look at those, read those through? Any obvious changes that we need to make? Any comments? No? None? If there are no comments or edits to make, then would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes of October 12th?
I move.
Deidre has moved. Do I have a second?
Marianne
Yeah,
second.
second.
Mary Ann, second. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
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 Hi.
Okay. So the next order of business is to just welcome Chris McIntyre to the committee.
Thank you.
Chris, welcome aboard. Did you get to sign your appointment letter?
I have not been sworn in yet.
Okay.
I'm gonna go
So,
this week.
so you are officially an observer tonight.
Yes.
Okay, you can't vote until you're sworn in. So see if you can get to Madam Kim and sign your appointment paper and get the instructions for doing the ethics exam. Although as a member of Concom, you must have done the ethics exam.
No, not yet, actually. So I will do that, both those items.
Okay, well, you do need to do those two things.
Yep.
To be a voting member of the committee, okay? So, but you can participate in the discussion, et cetera, and see where we are. Okay. As I mentioned at our last meeting, we still have one opening and an at-large opening, meaning anyone who is interested in the work of the committee and in general open space, conservation, recreation kinds of issues. I'd love to have them step up and fill out the application on the website so that we can see if they would be a good candidate for the committee. So we have a seat open that I'd like to get filled. Okay, the subcommittee and liaison reports. Deidre, do we have anything to
For grants?
the subcommittee report? I saw
Yeah,
that-
Marissa, John and I did meet last week. We did review the sort of the grants we had reviewed before. Unfortunately, a couple of them don't have anything listed for 2022. And I thought we discussed that it might be nice to discuss as a group, sort of having more of some guidance as to what we want to tackle, as opposed to just, looking for as many grants as possible and trying to kind of fit them to our objectives, thinking about our.
It's kind of backwards.
Yeah.
We should have a project and then go find
Exactly.
a grant to fit it.
And I feel like the sidewalks, I think we're doing a lot of sidewalks right now. So I don't know, do we want to focus on another sidewalk grant, or do we want to focus on fields? Or do we want to talk about
Well, the
parks or?
sidewalk grants are really the purview of the DPW. They're actively working on that.
Yeah,
They have a project right
Yeah.
now to finish the top of Sawyer Street, which has been approved,
Yeah.
et cetera. So, and while I was just speaking about the sidewalks, Katie Dugan was from the master plan implementation committee, was going to speak with us tonight, but actually I'm joining her at 8 o'clock with the select board and the planning board to discuss a revision of the bylaws, what does that mean? What does that cost? Et cetera,
Okay.
timing and all that. So she cannot be here tonight, but I am going to have her on our December meeting to discuss sidewalks in general. She's been doing a lot of research and a lot of work on the sidewalk issues. She has a priority list, and so this all comes out of the master plan essentially. So that's
Okay.
well on its way, and so sidewalks are really municipal.
All right, so if sidewalks are being,
Things that are involved with parks, open space,
Yeah.
improvements. Most of our parks are not ADA compliant. That's an area that we could probably look to do something. It's very difficult, but, you know, possibly we could do something in that regard to, you know,
Yeah.
make a section of the park accessible, wheelchair accessible.
We had talked a lot about playing fields or sort of just a lack of field space in general around town.
Well, you know, there's, I guess there's a redo of the Deer Hill Park, you know, the area around beside the Deer Hill that they're gonna make into an all-purpose field. I'm not sure, other than the light issue that's being.
Yeah, which is still
campaigned.
ongoing. I talked to Darren Susan. I guess it's still, they haven't come up with.
Yeah, I don't know of any initiative to find open space, and that kind of thing would be really involve us finding funds to purchase open space or to create some open space. So, if there- you know, certainly that's an area, if we thought we had a candidate where we could develop some open space for an additional playing field, that, you know, that would be something that we definitely could look for a grant for.
And John, we can
Yep,
include.
but we
rec
have
with
to
that,
have
too.
a reasonable target
Yeah,
to do that.
we could include recreation with that as well, right?
Oh, certainly.
Yeah, and just to layer on, Dee, I did, after you and Marissa and I spoke, I did reach out to Ted. He was traveling, but we were able to catch up for about 15 minutes. And that topic is on the agenda for the next recreation meeting. It was going to be last Thursday, and then that meeting got postponed to next Thursday. So I'm in a little bit of a holding pattern, but
And
it
for a park, the Recreation Commission would be the prime sponsor for that. You know, we would certainly be there as a secondary sponsor. But there are, you know, a new recreation field would have to come out of the Recreation Commission or the town, with us being in support of it.
Mhm.
Okay, I don't see us being the lead. You know, certainly if we found, you know, if we could identify a lot that was appropriate to create a field, and then
Yeah.
what type of field would you make, you know, et cetera. We could bring that forward to, you know, we would follow the steps. We'd go to recreation, go to the town, you know, and build support that way to get a coalition of interested people together to campaign it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did get
Now,
that.
in Wheelwright Park, there are a couple of streams that, one of them toward the Forest Ave end of the trail ending. There's a stream that has a culvert that's essentially collapsed. It's not a big, you know, it's not a big problem, but it could use replacement. And there's I don't know, 90-year-old culvert in the larger stream nearest to the Main Street side of the park that's pretty beat up. You know, does it need to be replaced? I don't know, I'm not sure, but probably could. You know, it creates an ice field when it's jammed up and there's a thaw, you know, the water, you know, gets across the main trail, and it's very slippery. So, you know, it is an issue that, you know, we could, a couple of culverts in Wheelwright Park could use some attention. So that's something that we could look at.
Do you think?
But
as
we have
a-
to, we have to, get more details on it. You know, I mean, that's a generalization, but, you know, we could start looking for funds for that type of thing. And then, you know, we'd have to get the town to, because it's essentially town property. We'd have to get the town to give us some engineering support to figure out what we really want to do there.
I like your idea of addressing Wadley Park, but I think we invested a lot in Wadley with new signage last year or the year before. So I think there seems to be a big demand for these new recreation fields. So I do think we should look for property or be part of that initiative to identify property. And maybe Katie Dugan may have some of that
Well,
paperwork.
we've
that
got, I think we've got her inventory, correct?
She sent us the list. I just had a really hard time kind of sifting through all the data in there, it was kind of cumbersome. But I feel like there was a lot of information.
Okay.
I could take a look at it and maybe help sift through it, or
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did you see it, Marianne? I think I sent it to the group. No, I'll resend it.
Send it
Katie.
to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, if you could take a look at that, Marianne, maybe you can, certainly we can get Katie. Katie will help us if it's not decipherable. We can get Katie to decode it for us, or help us to, understand how to use it better.
I feel like that would be great because, I mean, as a town, I feel like we're continuing to grow, and I feel like field space is already at a
Well, space is at a premium, no question about it.
premium. Yeah.
And, if we don't do things to conserve some of it for community use, it'd be
Mhm.
gone.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'll resend that list and maybe we can take a look at that again, and then happy to look at culverts and, any other areas in wheelwright you think would be a good way. I feel like as a group, it'd be nice to have, kind of a focus, and that way we're not feeling so fragmented.
I think that's the correct approach. We have to zero in on something and then, build up the case for doing it and find a grant to help us.
Yeah.
And they usually involve town money, you put in X and they put in Y.
Yeah.
So, you have to get the town involved as well.
Yeah.
Now, CPC money is a possibility as well. So that's internal, but that's a form of a grant.
Mhm.
Okay, so what are the to-dos from this discussion?
Well, I can send around the list that Katie had given to me.
Frankly, I haven't taken a look at it. Yes, I'm sure I have it someplace, but
Yeah, I'll
why don't you send
resend
it
it.
again, and I'll make a point to take a look at it and see if I can do anything with it.
Yeah, it's
Marianne, if you can look at it, see if you can decipher it.
I think I think last time we talked about this too, kind of the next steps were once we have an inventory of what's even available for purchase from the town, figuring out what our criteria was in conjunction with Concom or maybe recreation, and then figuring out which properties would even satisfy that to then, from there figuring out funding and bringing it to the town and that sort of thing. I mean, does that seem like maybe the right next step is determining what our criteria would even be for a property that we would look for the town to purchase?
I think what we need to do is wait for the recreation meeting to see if they identify a need. Okay. If the
Well, like I
recreation-
said, we have that meeting next Thursday, and I'll come back to you guys after it's
Yeah, if
talked
you
about.
can-
I
if you
know
can-
there's one thing they're trying to do is actually literally do a survey of what the town's field needs are going to be for the next I don't know 10 years or something like that, and they want to get that survey done, and then maybe that could be a something that we could get involved with. So I will keep you guys posted.
Yeah, I think
Thanks, John.
we need to get something like that, or at least the preliminaries like that done to see if there's field people think we do need
Yeah.
a field. Or
I think Ted said it was there's like a $50,000 survey that needs to get done to sort of assess those needs, and then that might help to paint a clear picture.
Has the survey been funded?
I think it's like a version of it has been funded, but it's maybe not the blue ribbon version.
Gotcha.
Well, once again, we can always go to the advisory committee that has a reserve fund of $250,000 for unforeseen projects that aren't budgeted. So, that's a way to do it, to get funding for engineering studies and things like that, surveys.
Okay, well, I will, when we have our next call, I'll definitely bring back what the Recreation Commission is thinking.
Yeah. All right, so let's get that guidance before we really jump in. Again, what kind of field, Do we need a field? What kind of field? Where's the money? So, where's the property and how do we, we have to do a study first. So if recreation is going to do that, then we should just tag along with their effort. So let's see what comes out of their meeting. And could you, John, just give us a, Cliff Notes kind of thing after the meeting? So
Yeah. Like I said, it's
Yeah, we
scheduled
have
for
an
next Thursday
idea,
right now, and hopefully it sticks.
if we want to ask somebody to come to the meeting on the 11th of December to talk about it additionally.
Okay.
Thank
Cool.
you. All right. Okay. The tree policy. I did have a long conversation with Chris Senior. He is supportive of the tree policy. Because in the policy, the trees themselves are protected from destruction. Municipal trees are protected under state law from being abused, cut down, unlawfully taken away for any reason. State law covers that. But the other things that are in the policies are, that we want and need are replacement guidelines, things like that. So Chris is very supportive of it. We're still stuck on this. What's the enforcement arm? And, and I said, well, maybe there isn't an enforcement arm. So, let's get off of, putting money aside and collecting penalties and all the rest of that, because the state takes care of all that part of it. And let's just focus on, getting the rest of the guidelines for treatment of municipal trees, so trees on municipal property, and let's get on with it. We passed the bylaw for land clearance at the last annual town meeting. This is the companion piece for municipal property. So, I'm pushing him to get it done. He told me he would get it done. We're not there, and this is the fourth time he's told me he will get it done, but I think I'm getting, some compliance. But we'll see. I'll go back after him next week and see if we've got any traction again. I did follow up and had a long discussion with him about that. And he's positive about it because he feels that will help DPW or help him to, and the community to, point out that, when things aren't happening within that policy. When there's no policy, there's nothing you can do. So, well, I think it's an important thing, and I'm going to stay chasing that. CPC, anything, Mary Ann, have you been anointed yet?
Oh, I'm involved in it. Yes,
Okay.
I'm active in it. We recently had a meeting and we spoke about the Milliken Field improvements, about the bullpen renovations and Milliken mound areas. So that's been a discussion about that. We also spoke about 60 Elm Street, which is affordable housing, and the replacement of lights on 32 units as well. Parker Ave was a discussion point as well about the repair of, there's a building that's used by the dock at the end of Parker Avenue where they load the docks, and it's used by the community. So
Is that the coastal research building?
it's the yellow building, it is?
Yeah, that's the coastal research building.
Yes, so it's in need of repair and structural integrity. The basement is collapsing, so we talked about that as well. And lastly, Sandy Beach Association approached us about a wheelchair access, about a chair that rolls over the sand, and we did permit that one. So there's still some more discussion before things go to town meeting, which is in December.
Is there going to be a project list for the special town meeting, or is it going to be an annual town meeting?
No, this will be for the December one. Is that
Okay.
what you're referencing?
The special, yeah, the special is in December.
Yeah, the special one for December. Well, it's not
Okay.
going for spring. It will be for this upcoming one. This
Okay,
is very interesting.
okay.
And my,
All right, that's good. No
Yeah.
discussion of funding for additional fields in CPC.
no, there was no approach to the board on that.
No early warnings or anything.
N-
Sometimes, people give, put feelers out to see if CPC is interested.
No, that didn't come up.
Okay. Very good.
And regarding the tree policy, could Chris Senior reference the scenic roads policy at all for enforcement?
I think so. Certainly the scenic roads would automatically be included in because they're municipal ways and, have right of way on either side that may have trees. So,
Because there is an enforcement.
yeah, there is an enforcement already in that statute. But this will be a policy, it won't be a statute. So,
Okay.
and it'll be companion to that, but it'll cover those things as well.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Not with CPC, no.
Okay, thank you. That's a good report. The Harbor Committee planning, they had a meeting last Thursday, I think, maybe Friday. I forget which. Yeah, last Wednesday or Thursday, I think, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which was unable to attend. It's a tough time to plan for. So I have to talk to Mr. Davis about how about making it, end of the day, 5 o'clock in the afternoon or something. A little more accessible than 1 o'clock in the middle of the day. So I wasn't able to. They were going to talk about the Captain's Walk, which is essentially the sidewalk that runs from the Barron Estate, from the biggest estate, all the way around the harbor to Atlantica. I guess it'll probably go right to Government Island, and it's expanding that. And what is the scope of that, and what are the materials and things like that. One of the things I wanted to talk about there is the possibility of putting some sort of a public pier at the end of the cove, right where the motel is now, that goes out into 30 feet out into the cove area there, that people could take their kids to go fishing and sit out there on a nice night. A little, I've seen a lot of them that are teas, they go out and become a tea, for that purpose. I brought it up to the committee a couple of times. They've heard it, but I don't know that they've, put it into their planning at all. So I have to follow up with Tim Davis in that regard, and I'll do that. See if I can get the minutes from the meeting and remind him that I guess I should back up and say, what do you think about that as a request of the Harbor Committee, the Harbor Planning Committee?
I think children and parents would really like to have a place to go fishing. I don't think that was brought up at all, or any with the hotel, the hospitality. There wasn't anything like
No,
that
it wasn't.
I had seen.
No, it wasn't. And that's part of our charter, access to the harbor for the community is one of the key issues that
Right.
surveys identified in our action plan. It's one of the items in our action plan. So, I think it would be a great thing for the community to have, but
Would that interrupt the flow of the harbor then? Maybe with a pier jetting into that area?
I was going to say it might be in the mooring field, but I think it's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's mud. you know, nobody really, I mean, there may be a couple of small boats in there, but there's not much of any. You know, even if it was 20 feet out, I mean, you know.
Yeah.
it's-
I know some members, and Chris, you could talk to this, but some members of conservation aren't very happy toward piers, so that might be a difficult discussion as well.
Yeah, and there's chapter 91, the state, you know, there's a lot of state regs that you have to jump through the hoops on, as well as conservation. So, yeah, I mean, it's just something to, you know, explore.
Yeah.
If the committee thinks it's, you know, I just brought it up out of my skull, but we should, what do we think? Do you think it's
I
worthwhile?
think anything that
something?
gives more access to, you know, citizens and children and the town is great.
No, that was kind of my opinion.
I guess I would think about another location. I'm just, maybe I'm not thinking about it, but I mean, if we thought about locations better within there, I think.
Yeah, I don't think.
Drew was saying where that
Yeah,
the buoys are. I think that it might be crowded in there, but
Yeah, I feel like it might be a bit of a mooring, it might be in the mooring field is my only concern as well.
I
But-
like the idea very
I
much.
think. Well, we can talk to the harbor master.
Mhm.
I'll talk to the harbor master, I guess. So why don't you give me that as a to-do? I'll talk to Laurie and see. Because she manages the harbor field, so. And I'll find out what the deal is there. My sense is that's not a good place to moor anyway, so I don't think there are any boats in that deep. You know, but anyway, we could find that out.
Is that a good place for fishing or like finding mussels? I don't really know.
Don't know. But for little kids, you know, fishing is fishing, whether you catch something or not.
Yeah. But you have to find a fish.
There's ways of finding fish. Anyway, okay, so I guess I got a lukewarm from the committee on that. So anyway, I'll find out a little more about what that entails and just have a conversation with Tim and see where they are with because it would have to be an add-on to the Captain's Walk kind of thing. The Captain's Walk concept, which is access to the waterfront. Okay. So we'll see about that. The Master Plan Implementation Committee. Marissa?
Yep. So most of you know, we spent the majority of the meeting discussing the sidewalk plans, specifically the addition that was proposed from Sawyer Street up to 3A. But as part of that, like Peter alluded to, there's a whole other spreadsheet of sidewalk projects that I assume it sounds like Katie will walk through in full detail with the committee next month. But a quick overview.
I sent that around, by the way.
Okay.
One of my
Yeah.
emails.
Yeah, so there's
10 days ago, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it's dense. There's, I think, 32 different projects in there. Some are smaller, some are really large. And if you had to bucket them into 3 groups, it's ADA compliance is a large chunk of them, shared roadway initiatives, and then just new sidewalks. So sidewalks that don't exist at this point. So I think the committee is in our December meeting is going to work on trying to prioritize those. And so I'm not sure of the timing if Katie's going to talk to our committee before or after that. So I don't know if it would make sense to kind of table that discussion, but I think it would be important to give our point of view in terms of how the town might prioritize those. So I can.
Again, I sent that around, I think 2 weeks ago. So if you can just check your emails, take a look at that so that you have an opinion. When she's going to speak, she'll come and present to us on December 11th. So You know, if we want to be aggressive about helping to reset the priorities, we need to have some discussion about that, you know, that's based on the list that she has. Okay.
Yep. And I'm happy if it's helpful, I can re-forward that if people can't find it. And then aside from that, we also went for a very short time, went through a village revitalization project. There's a subcommittee through Master Plan Implementation Committee that's in the process of outlining what it would take to revitalize the village. And a lot of the commerce or lack of commerce right now has to do with the spaces and just how they're zoned. And a lot of them are really just zoned for office spaces. A lot of those buildings are older. And so I think what the subcommittee is looking to ask the town for is to be able to put some funding into making those buildings more of a food space or a retail space rather than what they are today, which is just office space. But yeah, it was a very brief conversation, but that's what the subcommittee there is currently working on doing.
Okay. That it, Marissa?
Yep, that was it.
Okay. As a subgroup of the Master Plan Implementation Committee, the Bylaw Working Group has been very active. I went to a couple of meetings last week, and I'm going to a meeting tonight with we're having the review, as I mentioned earlier, tonight at 8 o'clock, there's going to be a review of the bylaw review project to see how we fund it and what the scope of it really should be, et cetera, et cetera. But we had 3 bylaw articles proposed for special town meeting. One, the single lot exemption, so-called single lot exemption. The second one was a change for a number of definitions around what is a lot, what is a parcel, what is access. And the third one was a bylaw change to protect exposed ledge. And essentially the essence of it was that when you are developing a lot, you can take out any ledge you want for the primary structure, the utilities to support that, a garage, a driveway, et cetera. That's your right. But if you want to then put in a large patio or something, a pool, other playing, another tennis court or such, then you need to go through a special permit process to be allowed to do that. So those are the 3 articles that we went to the planning board with. And out of that discussion, it was decided that the single lot exemption, which essentially says if you have an undersized lot that was registered with the town prior to 1964, 58, somewhere in there, then you can exercise your right to put a house on it, even though it is outside of the current bylaws. So you have a perpetual right, it's called a single lot exemption, to build a house on an undersized lot. And so the lot sizes these days are 15, 35, and 60 for A, B, region, the zoning of A, B, and C zoning. I think it's 15, maybe 20. I guess it's 20. So if you have an 8,000 square foot lot that you registered, that was registered prior to 1958, I think it is, then you would be allowed to build a house on that, even though under current bylaws, it is, you wouldn't be allowed because it's undersized. You'd have to have a 20,000 square foot lot. So there was a lot of discussion around that, and the planning board and the bylaw working group agreed that they would, or the planning board sent the bylaw back to the working group to continue to research and refine that particular bylaw. So that will not be on the docket in the warrant for the special town meeting. The other two got a favorable review, although there was one dissension on one of them. But there was 5-1 and 6-0 on the other two. The select board, we presented to the select board last Tuesday, and they seemed to be favorable, although they didn't vote on it. And again, tonight, we're going to be talking about it. So there's two articles that are going to go forward from the bylaw working group. Okay.
Peter, I had a question on the lot that are undersized. How many lots exist that people would be allowed to build a structure on
I think there was 60-something lots, and then there was some subgroup. There's some complication with single ownership or common ownership, multiple owners, that have, that own it in common.
Okay.
So, it breaks down to, I think there was something in the 30s that were actually completely affected by this thing. And the bylaw was going to be to do away with the single lot exemption. So there were a lot of people, not a lot, but there were half a dozen people who would be affected by that spoke up, as they should. And so that was the basis for having it go back for additional review.
Okay, and then for the other one you had
It was
mentioned.
under 100. I forget the exact numbers, but it was under 100. And then there was a subset. There was another 50 or so that wouldn't be affected, that wouldn't change much, and
Mhm.
some that. So.
And then for the.
But if you're in that group, it's important.
Yeah.
Maybe a small number, but if you're one of them, it's important.
For the ledge removal, then who would be the
Zoning board.
committee that would execute that and make that decision if they could dig deeper or remove the ledge?
The zoning board of appeals
I
would.
think it's the planning board, Peter.
I'm
by
sorry.
special permit.
That's right, Eric. Yeah, the special
Yeah.
permit's a planning board issue. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
The ZBA does variances. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, the planning board would determine whether they're going to allow that or not, depending on the circumstances.
Mhm. Okay, thanks.
Okay. That's all the committee items that I have. The next item up is the open space inventory, and we actually already talked about that, and we'll get a little traction on that. The sidewalk and bike lanes, we already discussed that as well in our other discussions. Other efforts, new playing fields, we kind of kicked that around too in our prior discussions. So Earth Day. The Open Space and Rec Committee has sponsored and run Earth Day since we restarted it 3 years ago. And we plan to continue to do it this year. I'm getting some feedback that other groups want to be involved in it and expand it from what we have been doing traditionally, which is holding seminars on, having elements of Earth Day for the community that speak to climate change and conservation. And we did that last year with a number of different tables, although we didn't have a specific seminar on climate change. We talked about it. So I'm not sure exactly where that's going to go, but it'll start up in January, because one of the key things we'll do with that is to figure out the scope of the event. what elements are going to be included, because we have to file an application, a permit application with the town to get permission to do that. The town is one of the sponsors, so that, you know, they want the event to go on. They want it, they look very favorably upon the community involvement and, you know, the whole gestalt of doing Earth Day. But it's more than just, you know, that one day. It's the whole climate change issue really is rolled up into that. So anyway, we started in January to try and get everybody together that would like to be a stakeholder in it, to figure out what the scope of it is, so we can file the application in time, et cetera, figure out what level of funding we'll need to accomplish the events, et cetera. So you're all welcome to participate, attend, not attend at your leisure. It's a public-private effort. We do get the Chamber of Commerce is the other big sponsor, the town, the Chamber, and us as the three major sponsors. So we raise funds, we scope out what we're going to do, and then we get it done in April. So we started in January, early January, and hopefully it comes out the other end in April with a successful event. Enough on that. So I sent around a couple of things. There's going to be a recognition event on November 22nd at 7 p.m. at the Wilcott Common at the Senior Center. And it's just that, it's a recognition event for all the volunteers who participate in committee work. So it's a thank you from the town for everybody who works on a committee.
Thank you, Benjamin. Thank you, James. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen to that too. Anyway. Okay. So everybody's welcome. You know, if you work on a committee, as all of you do, you're welcome to come and meet your people, the other folks who work on the various committees in town. Get, I understand there'll be refreshments and dessert. So it's going to be at the Wilcott Common on November 22nd at 7 p.m. So show up and have a good time. I will be there. And one other thing, Brianna sent around a climate resilience survey. So I would ask everyone to please make an effort to fill that in and give your comments to the town. They're looking to see, you know, try to get this survey to give them some direction on what the community is really thinking about and what the various committees are thinking about in terms of resiliency for the town. Okay. And if any of you were down around the harbor this week, it was a king tide, and the sailing club, the corner of the sailing club was a foot underwater, and the water line reached almost to the fisherman's pier. In other words, the seawall was inundated from the corner of the sailing club all the way up to the fisherman's pier. So resiliency, you know, we have to figure out what we're going to do with that water, one way or the other. Anyway, it was a king tide all week. It's been spectacular. With
Hey,
that,
Peter, I had a question on the survey, because as I read through the email, it sounded like they just want one submission on behalf of the committee by the committee head or by the chair. So I wasn't sure if we should actually go ahead and submit or if we should discuss it.
no, it's the committee. No, individually.
Okay.
I did send in mine, which spoke tangentially for the committee, all the things that we've done. Was quite, as I started tabulating it, we had a quite a long list too. So, but give your own thoughts. They're looking for, everybody's opinions. Yeah, I didn't read it that way, but the more the merrier. Okay. All right. Any other business that anyone wants to bring up that wasn't on the agenda? No?
I had a question.
Yep.
I was wondering, as I've walked through Wheelwright the past week or so, there's a lot of fallen trees on the trails. And I was wondering who's responsible for that and how that should be addressed.
I have sent pictures and talked to Chris about that. The DPW will get to it, although it has a lower priority. It's the town's responsibility. The town usually takes care of trees that are dangerous, leaning, branches that are broken and still hung up in a tree. They usually take care of all of that. There's just so much damage in the town from the storm that the DPW is backed up, and they'll get to it eventually. There is no organized trail maintenance kind of effort other than the main trail, keeping the main trail open. All the rest of the subsidiary trails are not maintained. Other than Phil Lair, out of the goodness of his heart, and the Scouts, he's been involved in the Scouts, Boy and Girl Scouts. He goes up and clears small trees that are across trails, and it eventually occasionally has an Eagle Scout do some trail work. But there is no organized maintenance effort other than by event. So if a tree falls, then they'll clean it up, but there is no trail maintenance going on.
Marissa, I live really close to there, and there was somebody clearing up the other day with so I don't know if they do it as, I know they do it as Peter says, but I guess there's other ad hoc like clearing.
Yeah, a couple of people, the big culvert, I saw a young guy with a pitchfork and a hoe when it was stuffed up, who went up and cleared it. And then no organized efforts, just individuals doing good things. And Phil does it a lot. He's up in there, clears trees when he can. But the DPW, when it's a really big, there's really big trees down. So the DPW will get up there and clear them out. But it's going to be after they've gotten all the rest of the municipal stuff done.
Peter, I had a question also, similar in nature, in terms of just all the tree damage that's been, obvious around town. Without an adopted tree policy, is anything in place to, put back those trees that have fallen, or are those just?
Oh, no, there's nothing, anything that's down on municipal property, I will petition the town to replace, but there's no policy in place
No policy, right?
to stand on. Yeah, that's what we're trying to get done.
Yeah, exactly.
And, private property is private property. If people want to replace them, they'll replace them, but there's no.
But there's no budget for that, basically. Like, it's not
private.
priority.
There's very little money for, the solution for the tree policy thing is to get a funding mechanism greater. They only provide like $20,000 a year in the budget for.
That was 50.
Well, whatever it is, it's a small number.
Okay.
Costs a lot to take a tree away,
Yeah.
as everybody in town who's had a tree down knows. And I had a big one down.
Yeah, you did. Your tree was crazy.
It was a giant one.
Yeah.
And anyway, So, there's individual private property, it's, if it hit your house or landed on a fence or a garage or something, then insurance will pay for you to remove it with, minus the deductible. But if it didn't hit anything,
I
it's
just mean
all yours.
the public ones, all the ones down, in the common or on, Main
Yeah.
Street or,
Yeah, I will have a conversation with Chris about what the town's gonna do about that.
Peter, when you speak to him, I mean, I would remind him that we became a Tree USA just last
Absolutely.
year. So
Those are-
this is the greatest
That's-
time to talk to him about it.
That's exactly what I stand on,
Mhm.
We're recognizing Arbor Day again. We're a Tree City USA. We planted 2 trees, on Arbor Day last year, and I hope to get them to do it again this year, et cetera, et cetera.
And it was
Yeah, I push all the buttons.
arrived. I checked on them. so.
I push all the buttons.
Peter, did the Tree City, Cohasset being a Tree City, did that include a public tree inventory, or do we have one?
I don't think we have one. It did not include an inventory. But, and I don't think there's one in the open space and rec plan. There are a number of vegetation studies, and I'm not sure if they may have identified the predominant species of trees in the open space and rec plan. We get that from the state. By the way, we don't do it ourselves. We rely on the state to give us, vernal pools and types of indigenous trees and indigenous flora and fauna, et cetera. So we can identify invasive versus indigenous, et cetera. But no, there's no inventory as such that I know of.
Seems like that would be something that would, potentially help with the tree policy, pushing the tree policy if we're able to.
Yeah,
public
I don't
trees
know. I don't know how you would go about counting the trees. If that's
Well,
what, I mean, species of trees. I think,
there's software that allows public municipalities to create.
fly a drone over it, and they do an algorithm, yeah. We could see if they're interested in doing that. I will check on that. Tell me when I get to 8 assignments, Marissa, then I'm gonna quit.
Getting close.
Yeah, and I will go back and plead with Christopher that my dog walking routes are still, woefully shortened because of the tree falls, so.
would it help if we all send him an email? Is there anything we can do to facilitate sort of swaying him in a certain direction?
You can't really bang on them too hard. I mean, they'll get to it,
Okay.
but it's not very high on the priority list.
Okay,
This.
I'm happy to pitch in if I can do anything.
I was in Wampatuck today, and a number of trees have already been cleared in there and already diced up. So I imagine it is on their list.
Well, Wampatuck is the trustees. That's a whole thing. I know it's state, right? Wampatuck is a state park. That's right.
I think it's DCR, yeah.
Yeah,
State, yeah.
it's a state park. I'm sorry. So they have a warden in there, that goes around and, keeps the thing, checks on, the condition of the paths and all that. So they'll take care of it at, whatever resources they have, they'll take care of it. Trustees, the same thing, they'll take care of their land plots. And they go in and they cut up the trees when there's a fall. So they get at it. we're a little behind, but, again, I will get with Christopher again and see if I can get us moved up on the priority list. Everything's a negotiation.
Do you think it would be possible to petition DCR to lend resources to help out? Presumably, they've already finished. their job.
Yeah, that's always a good political move if you can, get some sort of a written effort signed off by a lot of people, sent to them to do more with Wampatuck. As long as you can be specific about what the more means, can't be general. You gotta give them a specific thing to work on. But that's always hearing from the public is always a good thing. It can be successful. Any other business anybody wants to put on the table? Talk to, questions? No? Okay, with that, our next meeting is December the 11th. Is 6:30 all right for everybody? Earlier, later?
It works for me.
Yeah, me too.
Pretty good. Okay, so 6:30 seems to be pretty good.
Um,
Again, we'll have Katie Dugan here to do a deep dive into sidewalks, and that's my addition is bike paths. Her thing does not specifically call out bike paths, but as you all have, most of you have children, that the kids are out there riding their bikes everywhere. And it would be nice to have a little more attention paid to bike paths.
Peter, the agenda says December 14th is the next meeting, but you're saying it's December 11th? I just
I
wanted
thought it
to.
was 11th.
Yeah.
It says 11th. Oh, I'm sorry. That's January. It's December 14th.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
I was looking at January.
All right. I like the air bike path idea too.
I agree.
Well, it should be done together. I mean, if we're going to do sidewalks, we need to talk about bike paths too.
Yeah, they should be simultaneous, actually.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you all for your
Thank you.
committee reports, the liaison reports. That's very important. Keep us all up to snuff on what's going on in the other areas. So keep it up. Thank you very much for that
Thanks.
extra time you
Good
put
night,
in.
everyone.
It's much appreciated.
Night.
Night all.